So before we do get into this week's episode of SmackDown, I just want to send all the best to the people that were released from WWE last night. It always sucks, it's always terrible, and if you're one of these idiots that start saying the most atrocious things when a human being loses their dream job, or stop watching my show and go and do something else, and actually, first and foremost, go and get some manners. But it must be super duper hard, so once again, I do send them all of the best and know they'll land on their feet, because again, you don't get to the WWE, the top of the industry, by fluke. I'm sure whatever they do next, they'll smash it. Otherwise, hello my friends, and welcome to Ups and Downs, the wrestling review show with me, Simon Mellor, and yes, we just have had an episode of SmackDown, so we're going to review it. That's it. That's long and the short of it. I've got a dumb t-shirt on, I'm bald, let's go. We also saw Damian Priest, Solo Sikoa, Jacob Fatu, and LA Knight essentially yelling at each other at the start of SmackDown, and because LA Knight was walking, he walked to the ring, he got a microphone and said, you know what, I'm very mad about last week. Now this is because Solo Sikoa got involved and Jacob Fatu and Damian Priest. And as soon as he said Damian Priest's name, out walked Damian Priest. Because you know the deal, it's wrestling rule 14.4. If somebody dare says your name during an opening promo, you've got to go out there. Of course, Priest is all like, oh, LA, it's nothing to do with you. I just hate Drew McIntyre. And in fact, I was happy to move on from that Scottish asshole. But then he mentioned my family's name. So now we know a little new thing about Damian. Don't ever talk about his family, otherwise he'll punch you in the skull. Knight still thinks though he's to blame because of course the disqualification meant he did lose. And Priest was like, bro, you were about to get Claymore kicked. I think you were gonna lose anyway. Sheesh. They then kind of argued about the fact they both lost at WrestleMania. I was like, yeah, that's true. You're both a couple of losers. Really, in hindsight, I bet they were like, man, we shouldn't have discussed this. Soon they totally fell out, and because a match had already been booked for later, Damian Priest was like, well, kind of just do it now if you want. And LA Knight was like, yeah, I guess we could do it now. A referee came out, and can you believe it, it happened now. Structure be damned. Knight basically jumped Damian here, and even when Priest tried to do his jump off the rope thingamajig, La cut him off again, and he hit a Russian leg sweep. You know the deal with me, Russian leg sweep, double axe handle, atomic drop, bring me back to the 80s. He eventually tried for the big elbow, but Damian was able to grab him in the chokeslam position. And man, when LA Knight wiggled and jiggled out of that, Priest was not happy, and he clotheslined his head off. He also hit this really good Razor's Edge for a 1-2, and we got flatliners into the ring apron, which is the hardest part of the ring. When, of course, Solo Sikoa had gone, oh, it's 10 minutes, guys. It's 10 minutes. And do you know what a bad guy does in WWE after 10 minutes? Interference. Turns out Solo is terrible at this stuff because LA Knight and Damian Priest then worked together to wreck him, and they essentially whacked him with all their finishes. They were also going to throw him through Alan the announce table when, of course, out came Jacob Fatu. And honestly, the announce table, Simba the Steel Steps, Rita the Ring Post, Barry Barricade, if it was one of our wrestling friends, Jacob was going to use it. Fans went crazy for this because, of course, we all love Jacob Fatu because he's so damn intense. And listen, the match for the most part was really good as well, so we're cooking with the US title scene, and I'm going to give it an up. These disqualification finishes, though, are out of control. I'm not saying it doesn't make sense and you can never do them, but they happen so much in WWE. When I put my tuchus in a chair to watch a fight, I go, I bet it's going to end in a DQ. It's also really sad here as well because you did have someone like LA Knight and Damian Priest, and I was like, well, damn, man, who is going to lose here? And even Wade Barrett was saying that on commentary. They were both defeated at WrestleMania, so one of them really needs to win. So there could have been a really awesome story coming out of this, like, oh my gosh, Damian Priest, for example, is on a little bit of a losing streak, and as long as he has a good story, you should make this work. So I am going to give that a down, just because wrestling is a creative endeavor. You can literally do whatever you want. Byron Saxton then interviewed Fraxiom, and they were like, oh my gosh, we're going to turn the tag team division on our head, when Pretty Deadly walked in, and essentially went from this, we're from Europe, oh, we're from Europe too, let's have a fight. I mean, Pretty Deadly were a little bit more mean than that, but that's what I took away from it. We went straight into this too, and it was really good, but I know we'll talk about the thing everybody wants to talk about. There was a little bit of a fuddly-duddly thing in the middle. Because Nathan Frazer hit his running shooting star press onto Elton Prince. He got the 1, and he got the 2, and he most definitely got the 3, but the referee didn't count the 3, because I don't think they were meant to count the 3, because for some reason Elton didn't kick out. Now really we should be more worried about this, because Prince had blood all over his face, so he may have been knocked out or something. And also, shit happens, man. They're human beings. I can't even get through a day without doing something dumb. Just sucks to be them because it happened on TV, but I do not care. I'll never care. It's called a mistake. It happens. Pretty Deadly were able to fight back, and Kit Wilson got in there with a bomber power for 1-2. But then Axiom hit the Spanish Fly. Frazer hit the Phoenix Splash. 1-2-3. This goes back to what we were just talking about. Fraxiom have arrived on SmackDown, and now they have 2 wins, and people are being like, oh man, they're so good because they're winning. Imagine we got another DQ here. I would have had a conniption up. B-Fab and Meacham and then backstage talking to Nick Aldis, but it didn't last long because in walked Chelsea Green and her secret Hervis. And Chelsea Green, because she lost her title, is now in mourning. These three are great. They also think the only reason they lost their championship last week is due to collusion, as Chelsea was like, I demand a recount, when Piper Niven was like, she's an American hero. Chelsea Green from Canada. Green then tried to talk her way into a rematch when Nick went, well, there is going to be a match with Zelina Vega later, but it's going to be with Piper Niven. And man, her response to that just went, what? It was so damn good. It also means if Niven does win, she's going to be the #1 contender. So Nick Aldis is now using the US title essentially to troll people. Now we will discuss this later, but in terms of an entertaining skit, it is getting an up. Give me more of this. Nia Jax then returned to SmackDown. Although I suppose you could say that was last week. You take my point. She was all like, oh man, I'm so happy to be back when the fans booed her. She's like, oh man, you're too kind. And essentially she's been at home and it took her a while to decide upon this. I think I want my WWE title back. Tiffany Stratton must have been right backstage going, I swear, if she mentions my title, I am going to go out there. Because she did walk out. I don't mean this in a bad way, but she cut the most generic promo ever. She's like, man, I'm not the same person I used to be when you bullied me. I beat Charlotte Flair, and I'll beat you too. Now, I suppose Flair has fallen into the abyss because we haven't seen her since WrestleMania. She has quite literally vanished. And Jax responded by saying, well, this sounds like you're offering me a title shot. I was like, man, why does any wrestler ever go into a tournament or try and get a bunch of wins? This completely ruins my point from earlier. All you got to do is attack the champion and then go geese title shot. And you just get one. Now that's actually not what happened here because we switched it up a bit. But before all that, this is when Naomi came out and man, do I like Naomi. This new heel character is absolutely brilliant. Because she was all like, well, look who's back together again as enemies. But let's return to last year. Anytime I was about to win that women's championship from Nia Jax, it was you, Tiffany, that stopped me. She's right. So it just means that Tiffany hasn't changed at all, and the only real person that's changed is Naomi. And if it wasn't for that idiot Jade Cargill, she'd be the champ right now. Round of applause for Naomi. Jade Cargill then stormed out, and that is a pun, and all four women started to brawl, and of course the babyface was standing tall. That rhymes, so it must be true. When they looked at each other, because it's super serious. Now this interaction really got good when Naomi walked out there, and I'm such a fan of this new persona. Flub it, I'm just going to give it an up. But it does feel like eventually it is going to be Nia Jax versus Tiffany Stratton again, at least in some guys. But even the fact they're still interacting with each other like this, it just feels too soon after 2024. I mean, that was one of our big programs. At the end of this too, Nick Aldis walked out and was all like, I'm going to make a tag team match. And I'm kind of done with that wrestling trope. Like, just because you're baby faces doesn't mean you need to be friends. So I just don't think this is the most exciting option on the table, so I am going to give it a down. I just feel like we need to freshen up the scene a little bit. The Miz then told Carmelo Hayes and Dre, which is the name of Carmelo Hayes' Andrade chain, which I'm never going to be able to get over, that Aleister Black screwed him over last week, and he's going to get revenge. You want to know what happened? He did not get it. Because we went straight into that match, and of course, Aleister Black got the win. But there was this great point when The Miz was doing his yes kicks, Aleister just shrugged them off. He didn't give a damn at all. He also countered the skull-crushing finale by doing a cartwheel, so Aleister Black looked like the man here when he hit the Black Mass. 1, 2, 3. Now he did stare off with Carmelo after this, so maybe we will go to that. And while that's a little bit of a funny return, why wouldn't I want to see that match? It's brand new, and I like brand new things. I mean, wrestling never dies, so we should always be coming up with those. And giving it an up, it was nice and simple. Naz. Santos Escobar was then talking to Rey Fenix, and he was all like, Rey Fenix, you have insulted our culture because you lost at WrestleMania. If I was Fenix, I would have gone, bro, you weren't even on the show, you're a dickhead. Maybe not that last part. You also said that Fenix is a clown, and I was offended by that. I was like, Santos, how dare you? There's only one clown in the world of wrestling, and his name is Doink. Escobar also wants to use the fact that he did lose and the fact that Rey Mysterio is out to become the best luchador of all time when these two dudes decided to fight. And I was like, man, Nick Aldis owes you a thank you, because if all these random matches hadn't have happened, he wouldn't have had a show. Zelina Vega versus Piper Niven was next, and I'm very torn on this one, like Natalie and Brulia, because the match itself and everything we did was so much fun. But I do have a bit of a bee in my bonnet with the US title. Now this also suffered because of course you knew that Zelina was never going to lose, but at least it didn't end in a disqualification. but it did end in WWE's other favourite finish. This was really entertaining though, because Piper was throwing her around. At one point she put her on the top rope and she slapped Vega, and Zelina was like, "You can't do that to me." So she came back with a top rope Meteora. She then tried for the code red, but Piper gave her the side slam instead. And even though she kept blocking these, eventually Zelina was going to go for the 619, but that's when Chelsea's Her Secret Hermes got involved, because Green jumped up on the apron and Piper Niven ran at Zelina Vega. And you are not going to believe this. I couldn't believe it. Zelina got out of the way. Piper ran into Chelsea Green when Zelina Vega hit the most devastating move in all of sports entertainment, the surprise roll-up. And she is still your champion. So this really was good, especially with the big-small dynamic, and I am going to give it an up. But here comes my rant that you do not need. We have so much potential with this US Championship. There are so many good bodies around it, but they all need more promo time and they all need more story. Like, we could elevate this thing up to the 2-9, and at the moment it kind of just feels like we're not doing it. So I'll keep my fingers crossed, but I'm just going to give that a minor down. And this is mostly because I want to manifest it into existence. Like, you could have a barrel of laughs with this. They're all very, very talented. Nick Aldis then told us Solo Sikoa and Jacob Fatu for what they did earlier, and the punishment is, come Backlash, the US title is going to be on the line. Jacob Fatu versus LA Knight versus Damian Priest. Solo then turned into Kevin Owens, because he was like, well, wait a minute. Last week on the show, Damian Priest did win that match, so he should be in it too. As went, alright, he's in. Now, of course, Fatu seems sort of annoyed about this for obvious reasons, but was also like, man, I'll crush all of them, which he probably will do, when Sikoa was like, Nick, you're trying to screw over my family. Nick Aldis said, no, Mr. Sikoa, I think it is you that is doing the screwing, like it is Sherlock Holmes, so there's your tease, man. Breakup is coming. Randy Orton was out next, but we had no John Cena this week. Randy was still pretty great. He used the whole "you can't see me" line because Randy Orton has been seeing John Cena for the last 20 years, and he knows he's a bum. Well, he said that Cena was entitled, and he took advantage of being the shiny new plaything during the PG era, because he leant into it and took over. That's why John was nothing more than a walking cartoon, whereas Randy Orton was always unashamedly himself, and John never talked to the boys in the back, and John never cared about anyone but himself. It was all about the bottom line, which is why he always has a new t-shirt every single day, because he is trying to manipulate kids into buying them. I was like, damn, Randy, damn. He also then went back to the having children's thing, because he was like, John, the only thing you have raised is the price of your merchandise to screw over the parents some more. Now listen, that is a good line, but in no universe is John Cena setting the prices of his merchandise. He then got really mad because he had remembered that last week John Cena had said to him, I'm going to delete the Randy Orton name from history, and Randy was all like, yeah, over my dead body. Orton, I think that's the whole point. Either way, it doesn't matter, because in front of his friends and family in his hometown, Randy Orton is just going to take out another legend. He's also going to punt him so hard his Lego head comes off his body, and that did make me laugh when he was like, man, I'm also going to hit you with the RKO. So listen, this was a standard promo, but my gosh, it did the job, and I can't stand all these people going, oh man, who cares, John Cena versus Randy Orton, because the bell is going to ring. Good, I want the bell to ring, because we have now entered a world where I get bad guy John Cena versus good guy Randy Orton. Sometimes that is enough. Also, they're super pros, they know what they're doing, I am giving it an up. And if you want to come at me, please do in the comments, because engagement is great. Naomi and Nia Jax then had the most passive-aggressive conversation you've ever heard in your life, so no way they're going to be friends, when of all the people, Randy Orton bumped into R-Truth. Now, Truth is all like, man, you got to stop saying that stuff about John Cena. When Jimmy Uso zoomed in, he was like, bro, you got to shut up, Randy going to punt your head off. He also told him to stop believing in Cena, but R-Truth refused. So now I can actually see a world where Randy Orton does not win a Backlash due to interference by R-Truth. I'm going to say this very quietly. I'm not against that, my friends. I think it would be brilliant. Ray Fenix and Santos Escobar just had a super good match. Sometimes that is all you need to say. I mean, they were doing moves here, there, and everywhere. And of course, Fenix was diving to the outside and doing incredible moonsaults. But it's just one of those fights you sit back and you go, that'll do, pig. That'll do. Santos was also totally obsessed with grabbing Ray Fenix out of midair. It did work for a little while. When he got him in the fireman's carry, Ray was like, nope. He booted him in the head when he hit a top rope Meteora, which is very similar to what Zelina Vega did, and he got the 1, 2, 3. So it really was just great wrestling tennis, and later on, Santos was yelling at the Garzans when Andrade walked in and was like, maybe you don't want to do that. So maybe we're going to enter a world where it is Legado del Fantasma taking on Andrade and the Lucha Brothers. I mean, you just never know. If you have 10 minutes today, I'd go and watch it. Just good stuff. Byron was then talking to Tiffany and Jade, and they continued on with their generic wrestling conversations, and actually there was a twist. Next week on SmackDown, it shall be Nia Jax versus Jade Cargill #1 contendership is on the line. I'm going to assume it ends in a DQ. When we did get to this tag, and look, it was nice, it was in the main event. Maybe that kind of summarizes SmackDown at the moment. Could you have put something else here? Not really. But this is how the gravitas to be there too? Probably not. So we're kind of in an impasse. They all started to brawl, so Tiffany was like, I'm going to use some of the still steps, and Cargill was like, I'm going to use the ring post. I was like, you're meant to be the good guys. Naomi had a really good plan though, because she started working over Jade Cargill's arm, where she also did the dreaded back rake. I was like, man, anytime I don't think I can like you more, Naomi, you prove me wrong. Jax then made the tag and she was running through everybody, but of course she made sure she get popping Tiffany Stratton in the face, because if you're not on the ring apron, you can't get the hot tag. 5 minutes later, Tiffany got the hot tag. Now, Tiffany actually made a terrible mistake when she did do this, because she climbed to the top rope. That's when Nia Jax grabbed her and gave her the Samoan drop. Don't worry, my friends, I checked it, she is Samoan. Cargill also gave Naomi what was essentially a throat slam. Seriously, basically strangling her. Tiffany then stopped the madness with a swanton, and that's when Naomi and Stratton got into it in the corner. But Nia Jax just ran in, and she squashed both of them. And don't get it wrong, she wasn't like, oh no, I hit my partner. She quite literally booted Naomi out of the ring. So that partnership lasted 8 minutes. Nia then decided she was going to annihilate Jade Cargill, who very handily was on the floor, but Cargill took her Fenix down. She got Nia Jax in that powerbomb position. She hit it. 1, 2, 3. There was also some nonsense afterwards, because it was like, I'm going to hit you and you're going to hit me. But the last attack we saw was Naomi on Jade Cargill, as she held that women's championship above her head. Now, she did it, like I say, over Jade. So now we've kind of teased that this one is going to be a 4-way too. That may be a little bit much. And that's only because it would mirror what we're doing with the men's US title, but hey, this was totally fine. I have nothing against it, so I shall give it an up. But it does kind of underline that SmackDown this week was a little bit mundane. I mean, maybe that was because of the releases. It's always going to make you a sad panda, but I shall give it an up. But it's like a middle up. If you missed this one, I don't think you're going to regret it. Now, of course, please do leave me a comment below and let me know what you thought about last night's episode of SmackDown. Like the video, share the video, and subscribe. Click the video on the screen, which is Ups and Downs for Montag Night Raw. Otherwise, have a great weekend. See you soon.